small 2-inch screws, and a tape measure. And then of course we've got our picture. These are the hanging mechanism that I'm using here. You can just put the screws here into the frame on these, but these cheapo Target frames aren't super durable, so I think it'll hold up a little better putting them in here. Let's get to it. Step one is always figuring out where your studs are. I like this little magnetic stud finder. I will link it here. They make stud finders that like beep when you find the stud, but I've never found them to be super reliable. This is magnetic. So what it does is it finds the nails in the drywall, which the drywall is always nailed into studs. So if you find a nail, you found a stud. This is the most reliable way to do it. It's cheap, it's easy. So all you're gonna do is run it gently along the wall until you feel a patch like this. There's a level on it, so you should make sure it's straight on the middle. And now I know I have a stud right there. I am not necessarily gonna be able to hit studs on this wall. I just wanna be aware of where they are. Studs in the wall are generally about 16 inches apart. So with this wall, as I expected, we've got a stud down the corner, a stud right here in the middle, and a stud here in this other corner. That means I'm not going to be able to hit a stud because I want this picture to be centered on the wall. That's fine. If it was heavier, it would mean I definitely need anchors. Because it's so lightweight, I'm just going to put it into the wall with screws. If at any time I start to notice it pulling, I can just add some anchors. But usually with just simple pictures like this, I don't have an issue. Here's where the painter's tape comes in. And this is my favorite trick for hanging any art. I have put painter's tape all along the back of it, right where my hangers are. And I'm just going to take my pencil and find where the thing is. And I'm just going to poke a hole where each of the hangers are. This tape and put it on the wall. Now we're ready to actually place the art on the wall, and the measuring is I think the part that trips people up the most. So generally speaking, for just a single piece of art on a wall like this, we want it to be the center of the art to be about 57 inches from the ground. Somewhere in the range of 57 to 60, because that's about eye level for most the average person. So that means for me, I want the center of my art right about here. So I'm just going to take a marker and set this so you can kind of visualize that. Now in order to figure out where to hang it, I need to figure out how much higher the art is. So I'm going to measure it real fast. So my art is about 16 and a half inches. So walk with me here. We're going to write this down because this is where people get tripped up. I'm just going to walk you through it. So, there's too many things in this notebook. We want the center at 57, and I have the hangers about 8¼ inches above that, right? Because we've got center here, and then half of my art is 8¼ inches. So that means I need to take 57 inches plus 8¼ inches. That tells me where the top of my art should be on the wall. So that's 65¼ inches. Okay, that's 65¼ inches. So now the other thing to think about, if you really want to get specific with it, is this is not the top of the art. I don't care if it's exactly 57 inches centered. But if you've got like a hanger that maybe is down here, you're gonna want to measure the distance from, because what I have is that the top of my art should be at 65¼ If I put this at 65¼ the top of my art's actually a little bit higher. So your next step is to figure out where the hanger is. So I'm gonna measure from the top of my art to the center of my hanger, and it's about 3/4 inch. So that means I want to take my 65¼ number and I want to subtract 3/4 inch from that. And that is how high I want my art to be. Are you still with me? So now we know that we want our tape, which is going to tell us where to drill holes, to be at about 64½ inches. That's what we ended up with. So now I got to figure out widthwise where we want it. So I'm gonna measure the wall again. The wall is 35 3/4 inches. Of course it is. So we got 35 3/4 inches. My art is 20 1/4 inches. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the whole wall and subtract my art. So 35 3/4 minus 20 1/4. So that leaves me with 15 1/2 inches. That means that once I have this up on the wall, there's gonna be 15 1/2 inches of wall space remaining. So if I want it centered, that means I want half of that 15 1/2 on this side, and I want half of that 15 1/2 on this side. Make sense? So now, after all that magic work, what we have learned is that we want our tape to be at 64 1/2 inches, or the holes on our tape, really. I line the tape up with the top of the art. So the top of the art can be at that other number. And then we want the edge of the tape to be 7 3/4 inches in. So I'm gonna take my tape off my art. Oh, I forgot one supply. I'm gonna need a level. Hold on. Okay, got my level. Got my tape measure, got my tape. I'm just gonna stick it here to the table. And I wanna go 65 1/4 inches from the ground. That's where the top of my tape should be. And I'm kinda just gonna throw it there so I have a general, and I might even just mark for myself where 65 1/4 inches is. So I know that's what I'm trying to hit. Now I want to measure from this side 7 3/4 inches. And I'm going to mark it right there. So now I have these two marks. I want this side of the tape to line up with my first mark. And I want the top of my tape to line up with the second mark. And I want it all to be level. So I'm just going to hold this up above it. Get it level. We're gonna line it up like so. Now, if I hold this up against my tape, it should be perfectly straight, and it is. Now, all I have to do is take my drill and put my screws right where my holes in the tape are. Also, I'm going to double check as I'm working that it's level, because nothing is worse than a crooked piece of art. I'm just going to rest my level on this first one and hold it in place, kind of rest it down and just make sure, and it is, before I screw it in. Now I can pull my tape off. And I'm ready to hang my art. Now's the part where you cross your fingers and just hope that you got it right.